Morning, Dad.
Hey, going for a run?
Yeah, you should join me like you used to.
Not with my old knees and back.
Try Xanthicin. It could really help. Plus, it's super safe, Dad, and it's good for your heart and brain.
Xanthicin fights aging with astaxanthin, nature's most powerful antioxidant. And with 3 times the absorption and superior purity, it's the brand physicians trust. Find it at getxantho.com and these retailers. Keep doing what you love with Xanthicin.
All right, how's it going, everybody? We welcome you to another episode of Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthicin. This is episode 49. We are nearing the big 5-0. That's right. We've been able to survive on the podcast airwaves up until now. Jordan Helly, Hunter Hughes with you. It kind of nicely coincides with training camp heating up, the season right on the horizon. We are officially into August. And again, this is episode 49, set to be released on Thursday, August 4th, 2022. Big mahalo to our other sponsor, Spectrum Mobile, and a reminder that Hawaii Football Now is brought to you by Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. As Hawaii's largest credit union, they are committed to serving individuals and businesses through its 14 branch locations statewide and convenient digital banking services. As a leader in financial support and providing support for the islands, Hawaii USA is committed to strengthening Hawaii's financial wellness by sharing successes with members, local businesses, and the greater community. Visit hawaiiusafcu.com. All right, we record this about 7:07 a.m. on Tuesday morning. Again, as we get set to release this on Thursday, August 4th. We're basically, a little over a week into training camp. We mentioned it is officially August. There will be Hawaii football game, I should say, not games, this month, August 27th. That's right around the corner, man. It really is about 3.5 weeks away from kickoff at Vanderbilt at the Ching Athletic Complex to get the Jimmy Chang era underway. One quick reminder as well before we dive into things here. We are on Google Podcasts, so I don't know if you've been tuning in via SoundCloud or Spotify or Apple Podcasts or just, doing it old school, like when we started this whole thing 48 episodes ago.
Searchable.
YouTube,
big time searchable.
Yeah, you can find us. Check out like on Spotify, it's and Apple, it's the ESPN Honolulu feed. You can catch us there. You can catch all of the daily radio shows as well in podcast form, as well as some of the other cool episodes and shows on ESPN Honolulu podcast network. All right, as we go into things, Hunter, a little opening drive time. Week 1 of camp in the books, wrapped up with a Saturday evening practice last week, as basically July came to a close, crazy enough. It was a Saturday night practice to wrap things up. One session versus the split sessions we saw earlier in the week, which seemed to be working out well, at least if you listen to some of the quotes from the coaching staff after the first few days of practice. They ended the practice with a ha'a. All the practices we mentioned have been open to the public, remain open to the public. Just, don't video or take pictures. That's all they ask. But a nice little way to end, I think, week 1, right? They usually practice in the morning, so a big change to go practice under the lights, a little different environment, a little different atmosphere. Heck, that's where they're going to be playing games. But, the vibes of a night practice, Hunter, what does that bring with it?
It's cool. For literally from a player's perspective, it's much less hot. That later practice around 8:39 a.m. The sun is officially up and over the mountain over here in Manoa, and it gets hot. So just a schedule change for the guys. It's very, very enjoyable evenings in Manoa to play football in and to be under the lights on our turf. That turf can get hot as well during the day. So I don't think that's specifically the only reason. I think it's to familiarize those guys with the field. A big part of playing in Hawaii, not just football, golf, pretty much any sport, is conditioning yourself with the wind. And so getting Shipley, our kickers, our specialists, tuned in to that field, our angles, because that's a big part of the game, Jordan, that we've now emphasized with this coaching change, is focus on special teams. And I know it's good to get those guys as many real-time reps as possible on our real field with our field goals, with the angles, with the wind, because it's going to be just like a game day environment. And I mean, I think that goes for the whole practice. And you mentioned the ha'a earlier. Their new ha'a goes hard, man. I mean, it is way better than anything we ever did. We did two different ones, one with the Chow era and then one with Rolo. Slight improvement with the Rolo era, but this one, man, hats off to those guys. And whoever, whatever Kumu wrote that for them, it's pretty awesome to be down there.
Yeah, it's I think you can see them take ownership of that thing. It resonates. I think you got a native Hawaiian head coach, right? And I think all kind of permeates down from there. Um, it was cool to see because the word is that we'll probably get a scrimmage later in week 2, which is this week. My guess is probably under the lights. I'm not sure if they've released all the start practice times throughout the rest of the week. Word is Friday that the scrimmage will likely happen. I know Steven Side reporting that. I don't think he committed to that being a guarantee. We all know how camp goes. Things can change, right? You evaluate, you figure it out, you figure the plan accordingly going forward based on kind of how every day goes. But it's cool to see because the other aspect of it, and I saw a fair amount of people on social media posting things, again, not of the action on the field, but just sharing that they were there.
Yeah.
But it's under the lights. It's on the turf where they're going to play the games because they do kind of go back and forth between the grass practice fields right across the street. And I think for those one, it makes sense, right? Because you're going to play games both on natural grass and on turf, depending on the opponent on the road.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of get the legs used to one and the other. But it had a little bit of a vibe because people were in the stands, and making some noise. And I think for the players, that's gotta account for something, right? I mean, a lot of these guys, and we'll get into the fact that not all of the guys were around last year on
Yeah.
this roster, but a lot of these guys, look, I remember the Portland State game last year in particular, where it was weird. Like nobody was there, right? And it wasn't the players' fault or anything like that. That's just the circumstances. But there were more people, fans, at this practice on Saturday than there were for that Portland State opener, the home opener last year. So I got to imagine it revs things up a little bit. And I know there were fans at the practices earlier in the week, but again, it's the morning. It's a little different vibe. You get under the lights, you kind of get popping a little bit, and the fact that everybody was together as well. It wasn't the split practice; it was the entire team together. I think all of that accounted for a pretty exciting night. I think there were some good things seen. You've seen some of the playmakers on the perimeter. I think maybe catching some people's eye, and obviously the quarterback competition is still the focal point in all of this. And I don't know if anybody has necessarily just gone and run away with it, just based on some of the early accounts and observations. But yeah, I just think all in all, I thought it was a pretty cool way to wrap up the first week for the players, obviously, but the fans as well.
Yeah. We've touched on this in the show before, Jordan, but for those listening at home wondering, what's the big deal about no photos or no videos? I thought, maybe we could help spread the brotherhood love or something like that with, our action on social media. But the coaches are already a little paranoid, let alone if it's not your first year. I mean, Rolo was the same way. They want every advantage as possible heading into a week 1 game against an SEC opponent. And the benefit of a brand new team is there's no film on you. Really, people have no idea what to plan for, what to try to get ready for in terms of a scheme or getting your defense or offense ready. Everything that we will show them on August 27th will be the first time that anybody sees an offense or defensive scheme for University of Hawaii. So it's of utmost importance to try to keep everything in-house as much as possible.
Yeah, on that note, it's kind of funny because that reminds me of the quote from Jared Ursua, the receivers coach, last week. I think I saw it via Reese Nagoko's with the Star Advertiser now. I'm not sure if it was a mass media available, but he kind of compared the offense to like a mixed plate, right? A little bit of katsu, a little bit of kalbi, which is like only people in Hawaii are going to understand that,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if the Vandy guys, although they do have some Hawaii connections there in Vandy, funny enough, but they're like, what does this all mean, right? But I bring that up because, to your point, look, to get an idea of prepping for week 1 Hawaii,
Yeah.
because as you mentioned, there's no, like, you're going to have to go watch, like, they're tracking down like Eastern Washington film.
That's exactly
They're
right.
tracking down Nevada film. They're tracking down like Southern Utah film, right? Like they're scrambling all over the place, just trying to get an idea of what this, Shoemaker-led offense is going to be with wrinkles put in, right? And Ursula kind of mentioned, it's like, hey, it's been very collaborative in talking, and in his words, Coach Shu has been very, very open. It hasn't been very rigid in terms of, hey, this is exactly how we got to do it. He's been incorporating ideas from all the different guys on the offensive staff and what they bring from their background and previous stops. So yeah, if you're Vanderbilt, I mean, really, you have to go in and look up some tape from a bunch of different plays. It just makes the preparation process that much harder, right? And so to your point, which I think is a good one, yeah, you don't want necessarily some of the intel leaking out, like it's closely guarded state secrets at this point, because you want to keep that advantage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's encouraging to hear that it's a collaborative environment, which makes sense. The whole spirit of this brotherhood movement is we're a family, we're ohana. Come with what you have. Let's learn from each other. Let's create something positive and good together as one unit. Yeah. I'm curious, Jordan. Every time I'm down there at practice, it's difficult to kind of categorize what I'm seeing. I was talking with Armani Eden on the sideline last Friday, and just asking him, okay, like I saw a switch route over here. What are you guys trying to accomplish with that? And for those listening at home, that's the slot guy has a little bit of a corner or a fade, and then the outside guy switches it up on the inside, and you have either a post route or an over. And so we were just talking about when that's incorporated. Is that a front side read? Is that back side? And so I'm doing my best to try to figure out what it is that I'm seeing out there. But I kind of feel like Vandy sometimes, Jordan. I don't know what I'm looking at.
And as long as the guys know what they're looking at in terms of the players in the program, that's going to be the main thing. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a mystery. It's going to be a bit of a question mark, I think, for opponents coming in, at least early in the season. Especially obviously with Vanderbilt, who is that week 0 technically, but the first opponent up for the University of Hawaii. You mentioned what you're looking at out there when you go and take in practice, and it is really interesting because all of the excitement, all the buzz, you've got a lot of key guys back from last year. And this has been a topic that we have touched on, obviously, kind of out of necessity over the last, August, 9 months or whatever it's been, just the turnover, right? The roster turnover. And it's kind of interesting because now that we are in camp, now you get a pretty good sense of what that roster is going to look like, right? And more or less, this is the group that's going to be there for this season, right? It's not a spring roster where maybe some guys are gonna fall off, or some guys are going to be removed from the roster, and obviously guys are going to be brought in throughout the process. I mean, we just had some news of some transfers last week, and seemingly, I don't know, every week we were announcing some sort of guy coming in, right? A transfer, a collegiate transfer, or a high school guy that was a late commit or something like that. Like, the amount of names I think that we went through on this podcast, just relaying the message to the folks out there, kind of staggering. And I don't know if we ever really tallied it up, but some of the local media has. I saw via Christian Shivabuku of Cage with 53 new players in total on the fall camp roster from last season. 53. That's like half the roster. That's, as Christian pointed out, that's an entire NFL roster.
Absolutely.
53. That's a regular season NFL roster.
That's right.
53. 18 FBS or FCS transfers. So 18 Division I transfers, 53 new guys. You know, it makes sense because, as I mentioned, we were talking about dudes seemingly every week, which brought with it some excitement. Obviously, it was out of necessity because of all the talent that left the University of Hawaii, and it was a lot. But it brings with it not just that, but to backtrack a little bit, like if you're looking for tape on personnel, like we talked about tape on scheme, and you're looking at Eastern Washington, Central, like you got to go way back for Coach Shu. You got to go to Nevada for Timmy Chang's back, or you got to go to Southern Utah. If you're looking at tape for like personnel, like you've got to scour the entire nation when it comes to finding some of these guys, right? You got Division I transfers, you got high school guys. So it's like, okay, hey, look, we know that a few different quarterbacks are in the running. Like you got to find whatever you can on Farrell, on Eden that were here already. You got to find whatever tape you can on Yellen, on Cooper, on any of these other guys that are in there, right? On Connor Apple from when his time at St. Louis High School or something like that. Like it's a lot. And I think, it's something that we knew, but I don't know if, for me anyway, Hunter, maybe you had a different, but it's like when it gets quantified like that and you see it really now taking shape with, hey, this is the team now, right? This is what the teams are going to look like for the most part. 53 guys, that's a lot. That's a lot. Not to mention, 3/4 of the staff is new.
Totally. For those listening at home, this is so unusual. This is very, very unusual in terms of what's normally expected coming into a fall camp. Generally speaking, you would see maybe around 20, 22, 23 new names on a football roster come every fall. The previous crop of seniors have graduated. That frees up all of their scholarships. You might get maybe 3 or 4 transfers, 3 or 4 walk-ons on top of there. And then on top of that, you're looking to fill those empty scholarship seats. And so you're kind of looking, I would say conservatively, Jordan, maybe like in the low 20s. This is more than double of that. And from a player's perspective, the feeling in the locker room has got to be like, where am I? Who are these guys? I've caught it several times at practice, even some of the coaches going, hey, what's your name? Who are you? I think they need to break out the old tape just so that they can see people's name on their foreheads to be able to kind of categorize and understand who they got out there a little bit, because 53 new guys is a lot. And it's not just an NFL roster. Our travel roster for games is 53 as well. So literally the entire team, whenever we go and play away games, is brand new right now in terms of a numbers standpoint. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, as you were mentioning, like this is even in the transfer era, the transfer portal era, I should say. You're talking 20s, something like that. But yeah, 53 new guys. That's incredible. And 18 Division I transfers. There's some others as well, that have come from obviously junior college, that have come from lower levels. I was just trying to think through guys last night, and as we were prepping for this and going through the notes and just trying to think of all the guys who came in, without like looking up a new roster. And it's like, I mean, you got Yellen and Cooper, the quarterbacks, like in the front 7, you've got Soli from Arkansas, Wyndon Holy, the local kid who comes home from Nebraska, Anthony Sangapoltelli, another local kid is back from UNLV, Jalen Smith, who's coming in, Noah Kemma, some of those junior college linebackers, the defensive backfield. Coach Abe was, working the portal hard. And you think of all the guys that he brought in that are like Power 5 transfers, right? Like JoJo Forrest, Oregon State, right? Houseman's the Arizona transfer. Then you got Kalana Makaula coming back from UCLA. We'll see where they employ him. Mekhi Pay, the Iolani grad from Washington. It's another exciting guy. Devin King, who we found out about like a week ago, coming back from Maryland, I believe it was. Then you got you got a couple of tight end transfers in Jordan Murray and Grayson Morgan, a couple of young running backs, and Tylen Hines and Derek Boyd, some of the true freshmen that have joined the roster, right, from local high schools, Cruz Keanu from Kahuku, Kona Moore from St. Louis, Ethan Spencer from St. Louis. You got the Australian lineman who played football, his high school football on the mainland, Junior Taase, who was a Todd Graham signee back in December. And that's not even scratching the surface, Hunter, when you look at it. I mean, the number of guys that have come in and just kind of just to underscore how many new faces are out there, how many new names we'll be getting used to knowing here as camp unfolds, here as the season unfolds. And a lot of these guys are I think, pegged to play significant roles for this coaching staff as they look to fill a lot of these voids.
Oh, yeah, big time. I think we're going to see a lot of obviously new faces out there, kind of next man up mentality. This might be an exaggeration, but, Jordan, I even think back to that Marshall team from the 70s, whenever the 70s or the 80s, whenever the plane crash happened, they had to figure out a whole new team. Maybe it's not that steep, but it feels kind of like that in terms of we have a brand new team on our hands right now. And it really speaks to the effort and what this coaching staff was able to accomplish in the offseason. And if we're able to string some wins together, that is a monumental accomplishment by this coaching staff.
Yeah, it's going to be key to get these guys up to speed. And as we mentioned, there's some guys who have come in like a week ago that they're trying to get up to speed. So it's a work in progress. No doubt about that. All right. As we mentioned, just want to kind of give everybody the heads up that anticipating a scrimmage, likely Friday, as this will come out Thursday morning. If you get a chance to go check it out over the weekend, that'd be pretty cool. But again, it's not set in stone or anything like that. The training camp schedule can always fluctuate. And another reminder that next week we got episode 50 coming up. We're pretty excited. Got a pretty special guest lined up for the pod next week. And if everything goes according to plan, we'll be pretty excited to release that again a week from the release of this episode, second week of August, as it's the big 5-0. All right, wrapping up the first half here, Hunter. We'd like to record these pretty early in the morning before the day gets started. We got other responsibilities. Our guy Jaron is doing like 1,019 things for ESPN Honolulu, producing videos, podcasts, everything in between. So sometimes you need a little astaxanthin to get things going. And you can tell about the good folks, our friends over at Xanthicin.
Absolutely, Jordan. You may have heard about this amazing supplement called astaxanthin. Doctors and pharmacists recommend it for everything from joint and muscle function to cholesterol health and cognitive function, even anti-aging. But did you know that only one brand delivers 3, not 2, 3 times more astaxanthin to your body, making it a better buy than the competition? Introducing Xanthicin, available at getzantho.com, Newtown Square Pharmacy, Down to Earth Kaka'ako, GNC stores, and Pharmacare Hawaii. Learn more at getzantho.com.
This is Hawaii Football Now from ESPN Honolulu.
All right, second half time here on Hawaii Football Now, episode 49. Jordan and Hunter back with you here. A couple of notes coming into the program, going out of the program. One that's pretty excited to bring up here. And trust me, nobody is more excited than this guy himself. And that's Jeff Reinbold, who's coming home as the director of player development. And it's so funny because he has been everywhere in his coaching odyssey, right? I mean, he's coached college. He's coached professionally in Canada for a number of years. He's coached some professional teams in the United States as well. But he's, a lot of his career has been north of the border. I thinking back, I had to go look it up, but he was, obviously part of that June Jones era, and some of those really good teams in 2006, 2007, kind of came in 2005, late 2005, if I'm not mistaken. But he was only here for basically a couple of seasons. But the dude exudes Hawaii, everything about him. If you follow him on Twitter, he will get any reason to tweet about Hawaii, any connection about the program, any connection to the islands, even though he's been like in Canada for a number of years now, coaching it up, right? Everybody will remember him as like the defensive line coach, a special teams guy at a couple of different stops. He went with June and his staff over to SMU following his time at the University of Hawaii. And since then, again, he's been basically, defensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, anything in between, for multiple teams in Europe, Montreal, Hamilton, BC Lions. He coached a little bit in the spring league. He's been all over. Like, the dude's been all over. And I bring that up because he is as big a proponent, marketer, ambassador is probably the proper word, of Hawaii and Hawaii football as like anybody who's out there in the football world, anybody who's really just out there in the world in general. And it's pretty cool that he's coming home, because there are a few guys who have as much energy as this dude, and as much passion, and I think as much aloha for this place. And this is pretty cool.
Yeah, and kind of a cool full circle for just the coaching, everything that went down with the June drama, back in January, kind of February time for us, to bring a coach from that staff. Did Timmy play for him, Jordan?
No, I think Timmy would have been gone.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe so. And again, he was here. He wasn't here as long as I remember him being here. So I couldn't quite nail down exactly when he got in, but I'm pretty sure he would have been gone already if he didn't really come into about 2005, right? Because that would have been the first year of Colt.
Okay. Yeah. Regardless, it's keeping it in the family nonetheless, with this coaching staff, the greater Hawaii Ohana, and something that's very needed with director of player development. For those listening at home, they're like, man, how many of these obscure coaching titles can you think of right now? But there's actually a lot that goes into kind of making sure your recruits, from a freshman to a sophomore to a junior to a senior, are developing both as people and as players, and are getting the proper care that is required, because there's so many guys, there's so many moving pieces. You really do need specialized attention on each and every segment of the process. So I'm glad that they continue. It seems right now, again, we've yet to play one football game, but at this point in the process, it seems like this coaching staff continues to make one good decision after another.
Yeah, Hawaii guy through and through, and I think that holds a lot of value, carries a lot of weight, and being a part of this staff. And I like, not to call Jeff like an old guy, but I like that they've kind of mixed in some of the youth on the coaching staff, as well as some of the experience. And I think, I really like the makeup of all of this. All right, one guy coming in and a guy going out, even though we kind of knew he was out a while ago, but finding a landing spot is Solo Turner. Of course, folks will remember him from the Todd Graham era. Came in, was a Baylor transfer. Originally thought we were going to see him in kind of that H-back, hybrid role. And then he made the move over to defense midway through last season, and I thought really played well in the secondary, and a guy that I think would have had a big role this year as well, regardless of what the coaching situation was going to be. But he, via the transfer portal, and it was known that he was in the portal and not with the program for a while now, but he ends up at Illinois. Brent Bielema mentioned him at Big Ten Media Days, I think because he was a recent addition to the roster. He was asked about it and had some nice things to say about Solo Turner. And so that, by our count, Hunter, and we kind of talked about this before we started recording, I believe he's the 5th Power 5 transfer off of last year's roster, right? And that's counting Cincinnati. And look, if you're in the playoff, you're power, right? And so Nick Marner to Cincinnati, Jonah Laulu to Oklahoma, Darius Muasau to UCLA, Corey Bethley to Arizona State, and now Solo Turner to Illinois. And that doesn't even include, Day Hunter and Cam Lockridge and Jevin Cordero, who have gone to pretty high profile, group of 5 conference,
Yes.
or, mid-major programs in all of this, and a number of other guys as well. So yeah, that's another guy, and good for Solo. I hope it works out for him. Again, he didn't play a ton at the University of Hawaii just because of the time he was here. But I thought he really excelled once he got a chance to play in that secondary. And so, another guy that will be sorely missed, but he get to, hey, Big Ten football, man. It doesn't get much better than that.
And, I'm from Illinois. Champaign's a great college town. And Illinois kind of follows the Bears in the way that they do like an old school pro style offense with heavy on the run game. So good for Solo. There are a few places better if you wanted to be a running back than Big Ten or SEC in my mind. That's kind of where great running backs are born. So good for him. I hope he has a great later half of his college career.
Yeah, it's something about the orange there with those Illinois State football teams, whether it's the Bears or the Fighting Illini there. One quick note that we wanted to mention, all the game times, I think all but one are now set, and that's because TV has been figured out for the University of Hawaii schedule. You can check that out on the University of Hawaii, hawaiiathletics.com on their website. But the 4 nationally televised games we knew, they will be, I believe those game times have been set. Some of them, we knew about the 4:30 kickoff against Vanderbilt on August 27th. You got the Michigan game, 2:00 Hawaii time. That'll be a night game in Michigan, by the way, the following week, which under the lights in the big house, that's going to be a pretty cool atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And then you got the Fresno State game in Fresno. That start time is to be announced, and the other nationally televised game will be 4:30 Hawaii kickoff October 8th at San Diego State. And then the rest of the home games for Hawaii, it's the usual 6:00 start time, all on Spectrum. So basically 8 of the 13 games will be on Spectrum pay-per-view. That's minus the 4 nationally televised games that we mentioned: Fresno, San Diego State, as well as Michigan and Vanderbilt. And then that 13th game, so that's always like, hey, Jordan, that's 12. They're playing 13 this year. Not sure what the at Las Cruces, New Mexico State affair is going to be. Last year it was on Flow Sports. You had to pay for it.
Shout out to Flow.
That was an interesting experience. I imagine it's probably something similar this year. I think as an independent, they kind of hold the rights to their home broadcast, so that will not be a Spectrum game. Spectrum's got 8 of the 13. Pay-per-view's a whole other conversation, but just kind of letting people know that a lot of this has been sorted out. If you're planning on watching it, if you're planning on going to some of the games, start times are a little more set now than they were just up until a couple of weeks ago or whatnot.
All of the games will be on ESPN Honolulu, though. We need to say that.
Exactly. And that's how you bring it home, Hunter. Very, very nicely done there. It's very, very nice. And if anybody didn't know, if they didn't catch episode, what did we have John Veneri on? 46, 45, something like that. Anyway, it was a few episodes ago. Hunter, our guy, is going to be working the sidelines for the ESPN Honolulu radio broadcasts. And so be sure to catch him. Be sure to catch John. Be sure to catch Mark Veneri on our Brotherhood broadcasts of University of Hawaii football games. And yes, Hunter is absolutely correct. All 13 games on the radio on ESPN Honolulu. You can't go wrong there. You can't go wrong. Absolutely not. As you surf the channels trying to figure out what channel it is television wise, you never have to guess. You never have to guess with the radio feed. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Come down to the games if you get an opportunity. Bring your radio. That's always a fun way to experience it. And feel free to yell at Hunter while he's walking around the sideline.
Absolutely, more than welcome the hurling hellos or choice comments, if you will, Jordan. We welcome them all here on Hawaii Football Now.
Hopefully not too many choice comments. At least some positive comments.
I mean, if it's funny, if there's an effort for a joke, no one appreciates that more than me.
All right, if you can make Hunter laugh, that's the main thing.
Absolutely.
And if we're around in an earshot, we'll give you the thumbs up or thumbs down as to whether you landed the joke there. But yeah, again, all the games on ESPN Honolulu, all the games being covered on the radio. We got you covered right here. And then, of course, every week following those games, be sure to tune into Hawaii Football Now, as we'll bring you all of the recap analysis, and looking forward to the next week as well. We're kind of going to be right into the normal swing of things Hunter here pretty soon, man. Only 3.5 weeks away from the start of the season. One season coming to an end, though, is the season of the Frisco Fighters of the Indoor Football League, which is like the preeminent indoor football league.
Yeah.
Very self-explanatory. After the Arena Football League folded a few years ago, I was a big AFL guy. I always thought it was really fun. They had a ton of teams at one point, and then by the end, they are down to like 4. The IFL, I think, has like 12 or 14 teams. It's in a decent spot. But J.R. Hemsley, our guy, former University of Hawaii offensive lineman, first team all IFL. First team all indoor football league. The Fighters were the best team in the league in the regular season, had the best record, won a playoff game, and then ultimately lost last weekend in a semifinal, a tight one. The championship game for the IFL, which you can catch on YouTube, is next week, Saturday, August 13th. JR playing alongside Cole Leval. Pretty cool. Two Hawaii guys there playing in Texas. Frisco up there in the Dallas area. Again, best team in the league, just didn't quite follow it up in the playoffs. A tough semifinal loss. But J.R. Hemsley, man, that's pretty awesome. First team IFL, the center for the Frisco Fighters.
We might need to get the big 5'7" on the pod.
Yeah, let's do it. He's, seasoned pal, so he's got a little free time now.
Absolutely. And one of the best baseball trash talkers I've ever been around. We would sit behind home plate and he would give it to the opposing pitcher, man. It was good stuff. He'd be a good one to have on the show, man.
Yeah,
we'll need to put that together.
We'll work on that. We're at episode 50 next week, but we're not slowing down. Yeah, we got plenty of episodes to go. Long season ahead of us as well. So yeah, shout out to JR, shout out to Cole as well. Another fun season, especially for JR, getting the individual recognition after a lot of team success there for the Frisco Fighters. I like the name. They got cool like fighter plane as part of their logo there in the IFL. All right, some of the Facebook, YouTube comments. Appreciate the love. We got our guy either K Love Sank 78 or just like Club Sank. Not sure exactly how that goes, but showing us some love there. We got Charles dropping a line for the new DB transfer, Devin King. We got a guy who's going by the username John Cena, dropping us a line as well. We can't confirm or deny if it's the actual John Cena. We're just gonna go with it. It's the real one, the international wrestling and movie star. So shouts to you, John. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Always fun to hear from the folks, and as always, you can drop us a line. We had a little trouble with the Facebook posting, so last week's episode didn't make it there, but our guy Jaron is working hard to get that all square. But of course, you can catch us on like a million different ways now with Google, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. You can link us on the ESPN Honolulu website as well. So appreciate everybody dropping us a line. That you are always welcome to, and we do our best to get back to you in a timely manner, but it does provide us good feedback, gives us some content sometimes, gives us some thought-provoking questions, keeps us on our toes, and we appreciate interacting with all of you. And even the folks that we run into in person out on the streets, in the grocery store, on the driving range. Everybody wants to talk a little UH football and talk a little bit about the podcast. So that's always fun.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the beautiful thing of living in Hawaii. Even if you're not a big fan of sports, it's a topical topic, if you will, the double T, this time of the year. Big swing with just football starting up again. Timmy Chang, the Brotherhood, it's everything. It's good stuff, and we're at the cusp of it, Jordan.
Yeah, we are, and that'll wrap things up. We'll get a little overtime segment here. You mentioned football starting. We got to wait about 3.5 more weeks for the start of UH football, but high school football, you don't got to wait any longer. This is being released on Thursday, August 4th. There is a game tonight. If you're listening to this tonight, August 4th, Waialua visiting Farrington. High school football season is underway. We often carry some games here on the ESPN Honolulu family of networks. Some other marquee matchups this weekend: St. Louis at Mililani Friday night, Kamehameha at Kahuku, and Kapa'a against Aiea at Radford on Saturday night. And one last note on the high school football scene: former University of Hawaii assistant Tom Kallmeyer is now the head coach over at Waianae, and they make their season debut this Saturday over in Kaneohe against Castle as they take on the Knights. So a little connection there, a little tie-in for the University of Hawaii football program. He's back after coaching for a while in Japan and is looking to turn around that Waianae program. So pretty cool there.
Yeah, nothing quite like high school football, but high school football in Hawaii is always special. Are you broadcasting any of these games this weekend, Jordan?
Yeah. We've got a 4 games for you on TV, local TV. We got I'll be at Kaiser on Friday night, Iolani taking on Kaiser, Iolani, the Vendi Division I state champions. And then I'll be at that Waianae Castle game on Saturday as well.
Right on. Out on the, well, I was going to say west side. If it's at Castle, you're over in Kaneohe. But
yeah, we'll be over in the 4-4, man.
Who's your preseason favorite right now, man?
Oh, well, if you're talking overall, it's got to be Kahuku. Like, they're loaded. They're actually playing a really loaded schedule. They've got a couple of powerhouses. They got St. Francis, I believe it is, out of I'm gonna go look this up real quick and double check, but they've got a couple of opportunities to really kind of make their mark on a national scale because they're loaded. I mean, they've got the St. John Bosco out of California and St. Francis Academy out of Maryland for Kahuku, and they're going to Bosco. They get St. Francis at home late September on the North Shore on that beautiful new turf that's been installed. They're back to playing home games this year. It's going to be a beautiful facility, and so yeah, they've got a chance to be like nationally good.
Wow.
Kahuku does, I think, and then obviously the usual suspects, St. Louis, Mililani will be the ones kind of chasing them. It'll be kind of interesting. Division I's interesting. Kapaa's moving up after winning the D2 championship last year, so you got to imagine they, Iolani, Lahaina Luna are going to be right in the mix as well. And then D2, I think, is wide open with Kapaa moving up, so we're going to be interested to see. But yeah, and I know there are a lot of high school football fans out here, but that St. Louis Mililani game is going to be really, really interesting. It's hard to tell. It's so early in the season, right? And those teams will look a lot different come October, November when you get into the money time. But yeah, Kahuku's got a chance to be really, really good. They've got a number of Division I guys, high profile Division I guys as well. They've got the offensive and defensive players of the year in the state last year back this year. And Kai Carvalho on offense, who's got offers from Utah and others, including Hawaii, and then Leon Lefau, who's committed to Texas. So they've got some dudes, as they always do. But they've got an offense to match this potent defense as they typically have. So yeah, I'm excited. I think they've got a chance to be really, really good and maybe in the national rankings, especially if they hold things out until that September 17th game against Bosco. So yeah, they play at Bosco on the 17th, and then 2 weeks later they're at home for a game against St. Francis with Kapolei in between. So yeah, keep your eye on them. They're going to be really good.
Wow. Yeah. Kahuku always smacks you in the mouth, man.
They do.
Play high school football out here, but that's just always been my observation. If you want to take on the red, you better come prepared.
Yeah, you got to make sure the helmet's strapped up tight when you play Kahuku. The scary thing is now they've got like this passing game that's also really good. So it's kind of unfair at times, but yeah, it's going to be fun. So check out some of those games. Some future University of Hawaii football products as well. Haihea De La Cruz is the UH commit. He's a defensive end outside linebacker for Iolani. You can catch him on Friday as well. All right, that'll do it for us. Big thanks to you, Hunter. Big thanks to our guy, Jaron, behind the controls. And a big thanks to our sponsor, Spectrum Mobile and Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. This has been episode 49 of Hawaii Football Now, presented by Xanthison. We'll see you next week, episode 50. Be sure to tune in for that one. We're excited about it, and we're excited about this upcoming University of Hawaii football season. Aloha, everybody.
You've been listening to Hawaii Football Now with Jordan Helly and Hunter Hughes, all from ESPN Honolulu.